All right, our spotlight presentation is going to be from Allison Kabir. She's our Senior VP for Policy, Legislative Affairs, and Green Initiatives. And we're going to hear from her on the State of the State economic development proposals that the governor outlined in her State of the State address and in her budget. Allison, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and thank you to the Board of Directors. So I'm going to be providing an overview of the governor's 2026 executive budget proposals as they relate to ESD. Before we get into what has been proposed this year, just a quick table setting on the budget process. So this is an effort that we undertake on an annual basis. We're about midstream of this process. So this really starts in the summer. We're at the agency level. We're collecting ideas from across the division. We're crafting those ideas into proposals that we submit to the governor's office for consideration for the upcoming year. And we are now here in step 3. The governor has delivered the State of the State address. The executive budget documents are live. Everybody is delving in and trying to better understand the details. And the legislature is holding legislative budget hearings to bring commissioners from state agencies and authorities before the legislature to answer questions related to the executive budget proposals. So ESD's Commissioner Knight is going before the legislature on Wednesday for our budget hearing. After that step, the legislature will prepare their own version of a spending plan called a one-house bill. So the Senate will have their own budget, the Assembly will have their own budget, and by the time we get into March, we actually have 3 different versions of a spending plan. But there can be only one. So by the end of March, we reach agreement through negotiations, and the legislature passes that agreed upon spending plan just as they would any other bill, and they deliver it to the governor for signature at the start of the new fiscal year, which of course in New York is April 1st. So this is where we are in this overall process. A couple of themes for this year. We see investments in reshoring manufacturing, growing the innovation economy, building strong, vibrant communities, supporting small businesses, and attracting investment in both legacy sectors and new sectors. So jumping into the substance of what has been proposed for this year, first up, we have Power Up. We like a good acronym, so this is Promote Opportunity with Electric Readiness for Underdeveloped Properties, Power Up. $300 million over 3 years, and the intent is to undertake proactive deployment of power infrastructure at promising shovel-ready sites. The issue that we're primarily trying to solve here is that as manufacturing gets more advanced, as we see next generation industries crop up more than ever, those industries have heightened utility demands, right? So 10 years ago, 5 megawatts was a large power user. ESD is now frequently fielding requests for 50 plus megawatts. So in order to be responsive and to stay competitive, we want to be able to ready the sites with the utility power necessary to attract these businesses. Current process is we oftentimes have to tell a business, we would love to host you in New York, but we need to extend the infrastructure. That will take a little bit of time. Businesses don't always have that time. So the effort here is do it on the front end, make sure the sites are ready so we can invite a business to come in and turn on the lights. Next slide.
Hey, Allison, on that one, are you also coordinating or partnering with New York Power Authority?
We are working with, it's a great question, we're working with Department of Public Service throughout on that proposal. So ESD, of course, has the economic development lens, and DPS has the lens of, the grid infrastructure overall. So we're going to work hand in glove. Next up, we have $100 million more in capital for FAST New York to continue our effort to prepare shovel-ready sites. The next initiative is $150 million for the REDCs, and this year we're making a change to focus on larger scale, really transformative projects in the regions.
And Allison, go back for some of the newer board members, the FAST New York explain that program, please?
I'm sorry?
Can you explain the Fast New York program, especially for our newer board members?
Fast New York program is an effort wherein we make investments at sites around the state to make sure that they are ready to host an industrial business. So this is to ensure that we have an inventory of sites that are appealing to site selectors when we're talking about bringing in new investment to the state.
And can people use both the Fast New York and the Power Up sites to help get a site ready?
It's another good question. So we could see instances where a site is getting an investment from FAST and an investment from Power Up, depending on who we think the site is well suited for. You could see if it's a lower power user, perhaps a Fast New York investment is sufficient. But for the larger next generation businesses, they could receive both.
Thank you.
Next up, we have several enhancements to the Excelsior tax credit program. So this program, Pay for Performance program to incentivize investment and new job creation, we're proposing to extend to 2039. And we're proposing a series of enhancements, which we'll delve into in the next few slides. Just quickly, I pulled this information from ESD's public database of economic incentives. And if we look at the return of Excelsior since inception, ESD investment has been approximately 5% to leverage 95% in private sector co-match. So a very successful program, and we want to keep it going. The first enhancement under Excelsior is to create a semiconductor supply chain tier. So we're seeing, of course, in the wake of Micron, there are a lot of supply chain businesses interested in being in the area, but they don't necessarily need to locate in New York to serve Micron. We also are cognizant of the fact that other states have similar programs to attract supply chain partners, and New York should be competitively situated and have our own program to really root supply chain investment here. So this would be enhanced benefits for those supply chain businesses. Wait, go back one. Thank you. The next one is semiconductor R&D program. The effort here is to attract large-scale R&D investment in the semiconductor space. So we're seeing semiconductor businesses make very large investments into R&D to stay on the cutting edge. And what we want to do is capture that investment here. So this is a 15% credit on the capital investment of an R&D facility valued at 100 million plus the cost. So we want to make sure that we're creating an ecosystem, right? We're trying to root the supply chain here. We're trying to root the innovation here. And as we get into the next slide, we're also trying to root the workforce development activities here. So this next piece is $20 million structured as a tax credit for workforce development in the semiconductor and advanced manufacturing spaces. This will cover training, it'll cover wages, it'll cover wraparound services for new workers hired by semiconductor firms and advanced manufacturing firms. So for semi firms that can receive up to 5 million, for advanced manufacturers, they can receive up to 1 million. And the differential is related to the increased costs that semiconductor training usually takes. You know, we're often talking about training on equipment that is $100 million or more. So we structured the program to be responsive in that way.
Hey, Allison, take a break again. I don't know, Hope or Kevin, if this is for you. Given sort of the head spinning changes that come out of Washington on a daily basis, I'm hearing that there's also going to be movements to eliminate or drastically cut CHIPS funding and all the things that New York State and Governor Hochul has done for CHIPS and all the things that she has proposed. If we haven't done so already, I think we need to arm our New York State delegation, both Republicans and Democrats, and our two senators, with, we're not just looking for handouts from Washington. The state is fully committed in this area, and we've already done this and that, and the governor has proposed, these things as well. And just a suggestion.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. The next program is an enhancement of an existing tax credit. It's called the Empire Jobs Retention Program, $30 million per year. And the intent is to support businesses that are impacted by a storm. So we're expanding the program to be more responsive to the types of storms that we're seeing and to just reduce the barriers to entry. The current program has some strict limitations on who is eligible, so we're proposing to remove those and just make it easier for businesses to receive support after a disaster. So this will provide a credit on employee wages for a period of 6 months after the governor has declared an emergency in the county where the business resides. So the enhancements that we're seeking allow small businesses to participate for the first time. Current iteration of the program is only businesses with 100 or more employees are eligible. We'd like to change that. The current program offers benefits for 10 years. We're suggesting to tighten that to 6 months. FEMA will say that the first 6 months after disaster is the most critical for supports. Otherwise, we see businesses close during that very vulnerable period. Allow businesses in all sectors to participate. The current program has limitations on which sectors are permissible. And we're also proposing to tie the benefit to the business size, with the smallest businesses receiving the highest benefit tier. Catalyst, another acronym, companies attracting talent to advance leading innovations and scale technologies in New York. So this is $200 million for a new tax credit to support early stage innovation businesses. What we're aiming to address is salaries, especially in STEM fields, have increased drastically in the last 5 years. If you look at the data, some of these salaries have increased anywhere from 15 to 70%. Makes it very difficult for an early stage business to hire top talent. So what we want to do is offset those hiring costs and leverage the expertise of our incubators around the state. So incubators, we can offer a personal income tax benefit for 5 years to promising early stage innovation businesses that have completed a course with a New York State incubator. So it's basically a two-step process. First, the incubators are selected to participate in Catalyst. Then the businesses that have completed training with the incubator are selected for 5 years. Harmony AI, helping achieve representation of more New Yorkers in AI. What we're aiming to do here is to avoid the creation of another digital divide as AI takes off as a new and emerging sector. So we have 3 elements. We have a workforce program to make sure that students from all backgrounds have access to cutting edge AI careers and training and mentorship. That's called AI Prep. Small business support, we want to make sure that small businesses who often say, I know I should be incorporating AI, I just don't really know where to start, leverage the EAC, Entrepreneurship Assistance Center network that ESD invests in to provide targeted AI training to small businesses across the state. And the last piece, make sure that businesses from all backgrounds at their earliest stages have access to venture funding. We're going to leverage $10 billion from the ESD Ventures program, matched by $10 million from IBM and from Armory Square Ventures, for a total of $20 million going to small innovation AI-focused startups in New York. And I should mention IBM and Armory Square Ventures are founding members of the Governor's Emerging Technology Advisory Board.
Very cool. So we have Power Up, Catalyst, and Harmony. Do we have a division of acronyms here?
We do. It's headed by Elizabeth Morrissey, isn't it?
Yes, pretty much. Yes, she's your acronym queen.
Very impressive. Thank you.
And the next one is Link, formerly or also known as the Link Deposit Program, another very successful program that we are seeking to enhance. essentially, we want to increase the spending limitation. It's currently 560. We want to raise that to $1 billion because the program has been so successful in recent years as we grapple with high borrowing rates at the national level. So we want to make sure we have funding available to keep making these loans to small businesses and mid-sized manufacturers. So Link Deposit, or now Link, can offer a 3% reduction on a borrowing rate for either a small business or a mid-sized manufacturer. And if we look at the numbers, they're great. We've helped 6,000 businesses. We've issued $2 billion in loans, and that $2 billion has leveraged $4 billion in private investment. And as the commissioner mentioned, an Albany plan, and as the governor has been saying, through this plan, for the first time in the city's long history, Albany will have a true partner in New York State. This is $400 million for community development investments to revitalize downtown Albany. Within that 400, there's funding to revitalize the New York State Museum. There's $200 million to be invested in projects across downtown. And in general, the motivation is to create new reasons to work, visit, or live in downtown. We plan to take a holistic approach, engage with stakeholders throughout, and make direct investments into the community. Empire AI expansion, the governor has advanced a proposal for an additional $90 million in capital to support the Empire AI initiative, which is fostering cutting-edge research to expand AI for the public good. This initiative was included as part of last year's budget. It's been so successful that there are other interested schools, and so to be able to support that expansion, the governor is proposing $90 million to expand the project. And last but certainly not least, we have changes to the film program to make sure that New York remains competitive. There are many changes proposed, but they broadly fall into these categories. The first category, address timing issues, just pay businesses faster. The second category, support the independents and enhance the program to be responsive to the unique circumstances of the independent filmmakers. And thirdly, address competitive disadvantages, make several technical changes to make sure that we are being responsive to changes in the larger industry. I'm happy to take any questions, and thank you again to the board for the time.
Thank you, Allison. Allison, other than what the governor has proposed in her budget and the state of the state, is there any other legislation floating out there from the Senate or the Assembly that could, that we're keeping an eye on, that could either positively or negatively impact the ESD?
The short answer is yes. We are always keeping an eye on that, and we suspect some of these things will appear in one House budgets, and we're already taking a look at those details.
Great, thank you. Any board members have any other questions for Allison?
Can the directors get a copy of the PowerPoint deck? I thought it was really good.
Yep. You hear, Allison, if you get that to Debbie, and Debbie could circulate the PowerPoint to the board members?
Happy to.
Great. All right.
Hey.
Yes?
Hi, it's Francine.
Hi, Francine.
Just as an update, I guess, going forward, we'll get a final assessment after the budget is passed, hopefully in April.
Yes, and
Yes, happy to.
we have a board meeting coming up on March 27th, which will be usually the heavy-duty negotiation week of historically state budgets. So we may know a little bit more at our next meeting. And then if the budget is adopted after our next meeting, then we'll get a briefing from Hope and others as to what was included at the April meeting. Do we meet in April?
Yeah,
No, or the May meeting. Thanks, Francine.
thank you.
All right, thanks again, Allison.